Let's go to Geneva now. We can speak to Philip Shetler-Jones, who is the Associate Fellow in Indo-Pacific Geopolitics at the Council of Geostrategy. Good to have you with us. Can you explain firstly what China is trying to achieve in the Pacific?
Well, I think China is trying to extend its influence in the region. And of course, it's coming up against rivalry with the United States, but also other countries such as Japan, Australia, and Europeans as well, like France and the UK.
What does that influence look like, though? Does it come in the form of financial assistance and loans that would then need to be paid back?
Yes, that's definitely part of it. I think what you're seeing in the story that's happening now in the Oceania region is that it's a combination of different instruments of influence. So certainly loans and financial offers is one part of it. The other part of it are partnerships on security, especially in the field of policing, but also technology. So one of the most important strategic questions is who will be building the new generation of telecommunications infrastructure in the region. And of course, this region is on the route between the United States, Australia, and the Indo-Pacific. So that's one of the features that makes this bit of geography very strategically important today.
And so bluntly, Philip, what is it that Australia, but also New Zealand, what are they worried about?
Well, up until recently, Australia and New Zealand, and to an extent Japan and the United States, have enjoyed advantages in influence on the region. And I think the movement of the People's Republic of China into the region is disturbing because it threatens to not only reduce their influence, but also change the way that the region is governed and exclude them in some ways from some of their economic and political interests, but also strategically, because it's a way of, if you like, potentially cutting the link between the United States and the Indo-Pacific. Until recently, the United States' presence in the Indo-Pacific was concentrated in Northeast Asia, around Japan and the Korean Peninsula. But the development of much more powerful long-range missiles has meant the United States would like to balance its position by having more resources further south, based around Australia. And so that raises the value of this piece of real estate in geostrategic terms. And so if China can move in with bases and a military presence, if that was to happen, then that would obviously frustrate the ability of America and its allies to maintain its security position in the region.
So, Philip, what do you make of the security pact deal that's been done between China and the Solomon Islands? The foreign minister is there right now. How does this change things?
Well, I think everybody's watching very closely because it's not entirely clear what the agreement contains. And one school of thought would argue it's just the same type of agreement that other countries have had with nations in the region. In terms of policing, for example, and free trade areas, the same kind of agreements have been fixed with New Zealand and Australia. The other school of thought is that it's the thin end of a wedge, and that once China gets this kind of presence, it would act in a way that would make these relationships exclusive of others and would effectively push the influence and the opportunities of others out of the region.
Philip, thank you very much for joining us with your thoughts from Geneva.